begun. Ramos looking like he's got one more good run. Sips a little shaky, but his heart is still true. Oh, how that dog loves hunting with me and you. Sporting Dog Adventures, run boy run. Everything you need is here under the sun.
The Sporting Dog Adventures podcast is proudly brought to you by Soggy Acres Retrievers. Remember, everyone deserves a soggy dog. Hey, welcome to Sporting Dog Adventures. Today I have a special guest here with me, my good friend A.G. Shaw. A.G. has a kennel called Hardcore Retrievers. A.G. trains dogs for competition, and he is actually running my dog Tank and my dog Ace in the HRC Grand. So I thought we would bring him in and just talk to him about what the HRC Grand is at. So A.G., welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
So the HRC Grand, what is it and what is it like to run?
Well, the Grand is a 5-day event. It's a simulated duck hunting series for 4 of those days. 1 day's on water, next day's on land, water, land, water, land. The 5th and final day is going to be an upland hunt. And so it's basically what I call it the Super Bowl or the World Series of the Retrievers. It shows a well-balanced dog with showing duck hunting and pheasant hunting. Big emphasis on control and steadiness at the line, so your dog can't move around, can't be bouncy. He's got to sit there and basically be perfect while the marks are going off in the air. So,
now, are you graded every day as a separate test, or is this like a cumulative grade?
So you get you have 4 different or 5 different sets of judges. So those judges don't know what the last judge gave you, but it is a cumulative points to pass each day. So basically each judge can give you a maximum point of 2 points. So you need 4 points, you go on to the next day. If you have 2 points, you can go on to the next day, but you can only get 1 set of 1s to equal 2 points out of the whole 5-day series.
So what would give you a 1, for instance? I mean, a lot of people that listen to this, they're more in the I just want to train my dog thing. They aren't as technical as what you are or myself. How is it graded and what would be downgraded? Okay,
so if the dog was real vocal on the line, started barking and stuff when the birds were going off, the dog was creeping out, moving out past the gun barrel, that would probably give you 1s for an excessive movement. And if you're running a blind and the dog doesn't take a couple casts during that whole blind series, you probably get downgraded 1s or out.
And a cast being when you're stopping the dog on a 1-whistle sit and then telling the dog what direction to go, a straight back or a left over or a right over.
Correct, yeah. So if you give the dog a right back, you want him to take a right angle on you, and that dog maybe spins right but digs back left, that's a cast refusal. So you can have maybe 1 of those out of that whole series of that one blind that you ran. And then if you have 2 or 3 and it's kind of ugly, they're going to not let you carry on to the next series.
And if your dog breaks, there's something called an honor. And an honor is where you have to actually watch the other dog work with your dog sitting next to you. If your dog breaks, you're out.
Correct. Yeah. If your dog it affects the working dog or the honor dog, whichever one you are, you're definitely out. So you get a little bit of leeway, but not much. It's the test itself is probably very similar to your weekend hunt test, finish level, except for I always say it's judged at a much higher standard. So
the setup is the same. The distance of the retrieves or the marks, the distance of the blinds are about the same as a normal hunt test. You're just not given any leeway at all.
Correct. That would be I'd say you get a little leeway, but not very much for the common person to see. You would say there's no leeway, but the guy who knows what he's doing, he there is a little bit of movement and stuff you can have. But it is at the highest standard that is out there, I believe.
Now, this test is held twice a year?
Yeah, so spring and fall, we have the test. Usually before hunting season kicks on across most of the season, most of the country, we have a test. So being in the north, we're kind of at a disadvantage. Our hunting season kicks off, and we're having the Grand in another week.
And those tests are at different areas in the country?
Yeah, it travels north, south. Generally, the central part of the country, though, down to Mississippi, Georgia, as far north. It's been in Canada before, but it's rare. It goes up to Canada. Most of the clubs are in the center part of the country, too.
Now, you talked me in last year to running Ace because the test was only 40 minutes away from my house and from your house, and Ace passed.
Yeah, he did a great job. He was, I don't think he had one little squabble the whole 5 days. He did a phenomenal job. We had technical water to swamp water to flat country to hilly country, so he did everything perfect.
And to get a title, what title do they achieve, and what do they need to do to achieve this title? Sure.
So the dog has to pass the Grand twice in his lifetime to become a Grand Hunting Retriever champion. And he needs 300 points accumulated through running, finished, and other tests to actually get the Grand Hunting Retriever title.
How much does he have now? He's probably got like 200 points?
Yeah, he's hitting 200, so if we get through this, or should I say when we get him through this next week, he won't get recognized as a Grand Hunting Retriever champion, but he'll get that pass, and then we'll have to go out and do a couple more finish tests, and then he'll be a Grand Hunting Retriever champion.
So now between my two dogs, we've got Tank and we've got Ace. Which one would you look at as being the stronger of the two running, and why?
I think probably I would go with Ace just because he's a little older. Tank is younger, so he doesn't understand everything all the time when we're doing the complex setups. But I mean, he's probably the harder charging dog. Hits the water harder, runs faster, but Ace is a little bit more methodical at it. So,
which dog's more fun to run? Do you like having the dog that is kind of like on the edge of destruction, or the methodical dog?
I kind of like the methodical dog. When you're watching dogs run and you see a high-powered dog flying, you're like, wow, that looks really cool. But when you're running them, you'd much rather have the calm, laid-back dog.
Yeah, I know even when you do upland hunting, just out hunting, I would always take like 6 dogs when we had the TV show, and I would always pair them. I wouldn't get just any dog out. I would always have my hard charging dog and my methodical dog, because I didn't want 2 that were running across the field, because my goodness, I wouldn't be able to see where the heck they were, and I wouldn't be able to hunt because I'd be watching the dogs the whole time to make sure they were in range.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to keep up with a fast dog is, and you've got to think ahead when you're running the test. You got to know what each factor is going to do to that dog, so you're ready to correct if the dog falls for those factors. So the fast dog, you got to be really on your game.
It's interesting to me is that you look at people that do training. I train gun dogs. And you train some gun dogs, but you run competition, and you run a lot of weekends. And people will ask me why I don't run my own dogs. And I always say, because I'm not a fool with my own money. There's a lot to it when you go up to a test and you're standing there watching it. They will run a test dog so that you can see how that dog reacts. And my opinion is that someone that does that for a living, that is on the road running tests, will see things that even a great trainer that trains gun dogs will not see.
Yeah, I think for if you compare it to any other business out there or something, if you're a weekend guy who can build a deck or whatever it is, and you size yourself up with a guy who's building homes every day, that guy who builds homes can knock them out really fast, build that deck twice as fast as you can. Same thing goes for dog training. We got our hands on so many dogs that we pick up the little thing that a dog's going to do when his head wiggles a little this way or a little that way. We know he's getting ready to turn, where someone who only runs one dog doesn't realize it's going to happen until it happens. And then they're 2 or 3 seconds behind that dog rather than 2 or 3 seconds ahead.
So where is this test held this year?
This one is going to be down in western part of Kentucky.
Western Kentucky. Very cool.
Yeah.
And have you seen pictures of the grounds? Is it a pretty classic looking setup? Or
they don't really share too much with you where it's going to be. I mean, the town it's going to be in, but you really don't have a clue what water they're using or land they're using. They keep that kind of hush-hush and top secret. So you can't really you got to prepare for everything and not just think you're going to be on swamp. You may be on a tech water. You may be a little bit of everything. So
now with the virus, you guys actually get to be your own bird boys and organizers, and you get to do all of the work at the competition.
It's rumor mill has it that we might have to do all the work. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting deal to see when we get there how this all shakes out with the virus. So.
Well, we do wish you luck, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, stay tuned. AG is going to come back with us now, and we are going to talk about a training tip on getting your dog ready to run a hunt test after this. This portion of the podcast is proudly brought to you by Boucher Automotive in Janesville, Wisconsin. Welcome back to the show. We're back here with A.G. Shaw of Hardcore Retrievers. A.G. is going to give us a training tip, and I'm going to give you one after his, that you can use if you're getting your dog ready for a hunt test. A.G., what would you suggest people do, and how would you pull it off?
If you got some friends and you're all going out and training dogs, it's a simple and fun thing is everybody grabs a bumper or a dockin and stand in a big circle, 40, 50 yards apart, and you throw out a bird, and all the dogs have to sit and honor each other's dog. And one call out a name of someone, and their dog goes and retrieves the mark. And you do that, and you work your way around the circle, and that dog gets a bunch of honoring, and it's a lot of fun. Now,
what would you do if a dog broke?
What would I do if a dog broke? I would, call it back, have it sit there. If it continuously breaks, then I would maybe put a leash on it and only let it go at whenever its name was called. So that way,
would you use a collar, an electric collar during this drill?
Yeah, I would use as long as it's understood how to get out of the pressure. As long as you taught that ahead of time, teaching it sit by the collar, and then you can go in and use that at the same time when you do this drill.
And now you're going to do it with and without collars, because at a test,
the dogs get what we call collar wise. So they start to realize when they got the collar on, and they become angels. And when they don't have the collar on, they can become the devil.
And you cannot run with a collar on during a test.
Yep, no collars at any test.
Now my tip for everybody that is very simple, and I've seen this at competitions, and you'll agree with me. If you're going to run competitions, you're put in something called a holding blind. Real simple tip. Work with your dog in a holding blind so that the first time the dog is in one of these blinds, it is not at a competition. Everyone that has gone to these tests has seen dogs that literally tear down the holding blind because they want to see what is going on as they hear the other dog's running, they hear calling, they hear shooting, they hear people, and they will literally go berserk, which happened to me the first time I ran a hunt test, and the dog tore the blind down.
Yep, exactly. Especially in the started in season world, those dogs don't get to be around those holding blinds a lot, so that they're always trying to peek around, and they start hearing gunfire, and you got all those people there. It's an exciting time for the dogs, and they're feeding off of you because you're probably nervous about the whole thing too. So, yeah, definitely use holding blinds as much as you can.
So that's it for our training tip for this episode. AG is going to stick around, and he is going to tell us what he looks for in a puppy in traits and pedigree after this. This part of the podcast is brought to you proudly by Mech Outdoors. Welcome back to Sporting Dog Adventures. Now we are going to talk to AG, while we have him here, about what he looks for when he's looking for a puppy to add to his kennel, as well as pedigree, ability, and all of that good stuff. So, AG, what do you think?
Yeah, so I try to look for a reputable breeder, maybe someone who's in the business of this, what I'd be looking for. I try to stay away from what I call the backyard breeding. I want something with health clearances on it, hips and all that good stuff, and someone that'll stand behind those clearances if there's ever a problem. From a standpoint of titles, I like titles because for the game I play with the hunt test and everything, that's all I can look at for a puppy, what its parents, grandparents, everything has done. So I like, field champions, hunting retriever champions, master hunters, all those titles mean a little bit to me. It ups my odds of getting a good dog. When I go to look at the dog, I really rely more on the breeder at that point and ask him, if I'm looking for an aggressive dog, then I'll ask him, hey, who's the strongest dog in the litter? If I want more of a laid-back dog, then I'll ask him, hey, who's the quiet puppy in the litter? Because they see the dog every day. I feel that you can't get a good read on the puppies just by going in there and looking at them and saying, okay, I saw this puppy run around for 15 minutes and that one was sleeping, and that one, well, he must be the laid back one, when actually the one that was awake is actually the laid back one. So rely on the breeder and make sure you got good health clearances and good breeding stock all the way back, from parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, all that stuff.
Yeah, I look for that as well, the pedigree, the health clearances, and then me, for when I'm picking a particular puppy, I like the biggest ass in the litter. So pardon the language. It's my show, though. I can say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I look for the knob in the litter, and I always like to have the one that is just completely out of control, and that is the one that I choose.
Yeah. That's the way to go I think for the competition world is get the most aggressive one there. So
if they're chewing on that chain link fence, that's my dog.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like doing it at the Attica prison. I'm getting myself out of here. Oh yeah.
Yep. I mean, my last litter, I had someone come in and they were like, "Man, I really like that dog. It's really aggressive." And I'm like, "Okay, but the other one that's sleeping is actually the more aggressive one," and they didn't believe me, and they took that one home. It worked out fine for them, but it's just kind of, like I said, you got to rely on the breeder more than you can just going in and picking. I mean, even my last dog, I went and asked him, hey, which one's aggressive, and he says, well, those two. And so I held those two, and the one was kind of yawning, and the other one wasn't, so I took the one that wasn't yawning. So, and he's gonna run the Grand this year, so we'll see how that all works out.
So long story short, do your homework, ask the breeder, and find a good litter. So thanks so much for being on the show. Hopefully we can have you on sometime in the future. Do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jeff. I had a great time. Appreciate it.
And thank you to everyone that listened. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless.
Sporting dog adventures, run, boy, run. Everything